Hey, friends, welcome back to the Big Gay Overalls podcast. Yes, I know it's been a hot minute. I have full transparency, been lacking a little of inspiration of what to talk about because I don't want to keep rehashing the same stuff and I don't want to record just for the sake of it. So I'm going to be more intentional and talk about things that are more relevant and probably dig a little deeper. So I will be back on track with episodes. But if you miss hearing my voice in your ears or watching the show, also jump over and please like and subscribe the Authenticity in Action podcast. That's my second project where I talk to some amazing people from all walks of life about what authenticity means to them, how they live it, and how they can see other people living it. Huge, broad range of experiences, super cool, and I'm really loving those chats. So please jump over, give me a subscribe, a like, a follow, listen to the episodes. I'm sure you'll get something out of it. But thank you for being here and being patient while I generate some episodes here as well. I super appreciate it. And the authenticity in action is really important to me because that's kind of been the common thread through everything I've been doing throughout now as I look back in hindsight throughout life. So I think it's something to be discussed that authenticity is a doing thing, not just, a describing word. So with that being said, today's episode, it's I'm going to dig into some more of my journey, some questions people have asked me, and just some, self-reflection on what the journey was to getting to where I'm now, as in coming out late in life. And it's kind of like a before and after. So you see the gym posts before and after. I'm kind of going to dig into some of that stuff. And, it's probably not just a neat story, when you come out late in life that you can wrap up in a tidy little bow. There's so many layers. It's like an onion if you watch Shrek. Many, many layers. And it evolves and changes as you go, because when you come out late in life, you don't just step into this amazing freedom. Like, you have to leave behind an identity and a life that you've probably spent decades building. Well, I did anyway. And might have looked successful to everybody on the outside and happy and content, but really on the inside, it's kind of killing us, which is kind of how I feel. So I want to talk a little bit about my before and after of that life. So not just, the wins and the happy shiny bits and the milestones, but some of the battles, like with shame and grief and discontent and losing relationships and changing relationships and all that sort of thing, and the feeling that where you never really quite fit, and then the joy and also the grief and the transition that comes, an adjustment that comes when you finally stop performing that role and start living your authentic life. So I guess this episode, if you're sitting there in the before stage and you're wondering, what if there's more? What if I spent my whole life being who I'm not, or I'm fighting? Maybe you'll get something out of it. But also, if you're going through it at the moment, maybe you'll get something out of this as well. So, if I go back to the start, it's like it's a battle, but I didn't know that one that I was fighting. I wasn't consciously aware. All I knew is that I just didn't feel like I fit in my own skin, in my own life, in my own body. Like, I felt like I was a pretender the entire time. And for as long as I can remember, I've been fighting, fighting to fit in, feeling like I have to push in to be included and get that space, rather than it just seeming to happen organically for other people. I was fighting to belong, or to find somewhere that I could belong. And also, a lot of that is fighting for validation and the need to feel worthy. And that's hard. It's exhausting. It's really, really tiring, and I didn't realize it back then. Like, hindsight, amazing. But I was building a life based on, a script that I didn't write, I didn't create. It was just handed to me. Go to school, study these subjects, be responsible, get the job, get married, have kids, be a good person, be productive and contribute. And, smile through it all because life is not meant to be easy. And do all the things that earn you praise and recognition so you get that validation like, I'm doing this thing right, even if it doesn't feel like it. I don't know if that makes sense. And, I did do it right on paper. I did what I was supposed to do, did my best at school, got a job, progressed in the jobs, was a good friend, I built businesses, I was successful, I pushed, I performed, I had the marriage, had the house, did all the things. This is what you're supposed to do. But underneath all that, there was like this constant, the only way I can think of when I think back is like this constant hum, low level sort of hum of, like you get tinnitus in your ear, like you've been to a really loud concert and you get that little buzzing. That sort of thing just within me. Like, and it was like a constant tension, I guess. Like it was a little hum of anger, like resentment, bitterness, fighting. I was always on edge, waiting for the next thing to go wrong or the next, thing. And I was always very defensive. And it kind of feels a bit crap to have to say that now. Like that's, I was always feeling defensive, like someone's going to come and attack me kind of thing. And it's exhausting. I was bone tired, like literally bone tired. And, I kind of think about it now. It's like, you're swimming against a rip or you're going upstream. You're getting nowhere, but you're just wearing yourself out. And you're not like, why am I even swimming in this fucking river? I hate swimming. Why am I here? How did I get here? And it's when we start asking that question, I think. So, I've told the story about how someone said to me not long ago that they used to be scared of me when they knew me 4 or 5 years ago, and that I was an angry person. And that stung a bit, but it made me reflect a lot. And, yes, I can see that. And, deep down, I wasn't angry at the world, even though that was my outlet. Like, it was me against the world. But I think subconsciously I was really angry that I couldn't be in it as me, like me, not this version over here. And I was angry at myself for not being able to just be happy with the life I had, like just settle, like this is a good thing. Why can't you be happy? And I do remember often thinking to myself, why can't I just make this work? What's wrong with me? Like everybody else is making this work. Why can't I make it work? And there's a lot of shame with that. And, you feel there's something wrong with you, that you're broken, that you're defective, that something not right. You're ungrateful. You know, why can't you just be happy with what you've got? And that shame digs in deep. Like it wasn't until even today, like sometimes things pop up and I'm like, oh, and think of stuff retrospectively. And I tried to drown out that voice and those feelings by being more successful. How do I be more successful? If I did more, if I achieved more, if I helped more people, put more people first, maybe I'd feel like I was enough. But it didn't matter what I did, on what scale I did it. There was always something missing. It just never was enough. Like there was always just that, well, no, that's not it. You got to work harder. You got to do more. And I was building my worth around what I did, not who I was. And who I was, or who I was supposed to be, well, I hadn't even dug in to understand who that was or could be. I just had this, like, just a simmering ball of like fighting all the time. And I'd go out of my way looking for causes to fight for, or, got into fights on behalf of other people that just I didn't need to. But I needed to have something go, yeah, Lisa's a good person. Lisa did this, Lisa did that. And, I would put myself to the side so many times to put other people first. So then they'd want to include me and want me to be part of whatever it is that they had because Lisa was useful, Lisa was productive, Lisa could contribute. And that version of me. And, people, someone posted in one of the groups I'm in, the late life lesbian groups, asking, what was the moment that you realized you had to leave your marriage and do your thing? And it made me really think about it. Like, I know, yes, my catalyst relationship was the confirmation that, yes, you are gay. Great. That you can do that. Great. And that makes you feel good. Great. But even then, it wasn't, a big light bulb moment that shattered everything. That actually probably created more struggle and more shame and more confusion and more just lacking in myself, I guess, because now it added this thing. It's like, well, fuck, what do I do with this? What does this mean? I can't untangle from everything I'm in, and what does life look like? And it was just big and fucking scary and full of uncertainties. So, for a long time, like 10 years or so, I put it back on the shelf. Like, I can't go all in on this. I can't, like, it's too much. Like everybody's going to hate me because I thought this version of Lisa was the one that everybody loved and respected and wanted more of. And, so it wasn't like one big moment where I'm like, yep, that's it. Things have got to change. It's, and again, hindsight, but, it's 1,000 little things that build up, build up, build up. When I started to pay attention, like, and I know I've said this 1,000 times on the podcast, how I felt like I was like Dexter from the TV show where you were, okay, in this situation, I'm expected to do X. And that's when, you become aware of that. You're like, oh, a laugh that didn't feel real, or if I look at a photo of me and I'm smiling, but it's very different looking at those photos of me smiling to me smiling today. And I've even had friends point that out, like how genuinely, like they can see it in my eyes, my whole face lights up now, versus when I look at before, I'm like, nah, that's just a PR kind of smile. And, at times I felt this incredible loneliness that used to just follow me around. It didn't matter if I was in a room of 100 people, a stadium of 10,000 people. I just felt this loneliness. And I could have been with a group of people having a great time, but I still felt that feeling like I didn't really belong in that circle with whatever was happening. Could be social, could be breakfast, could be lunch, it could be whatever. And it's was a difficult sort of juxtaposition to be in. Like, I'm doing these things, it should be enough, and it's not. But you get to the point when, when the pain of staying the same is less than the pain of change, or sorry, is more than the pain of change, the other way around, get it right, Lisa. That's the only time you'll make change. Because as humans, we seek comfort. We want to be comfortable. So we could be aware of something. So awareness precedes action. But there's also a decision in there. Awareness precedes action, but you've got to make the decision to take the action. And that's where it's still more comfortable to do this than the big scary thing. We'll stay put. So, but eventually it wears you down. So much so, like the pretending about who I was, it was going to be so much more of a cost than owning my truth. And for me, like, if I continued that charade and pretending, then I wouldn't have had the life or the opportunity of the life that I have now, like with Sharon, because, I think I've spoken before about, when we connected, it was like, I felt like compelled that I need to make this change because this thing is doing all the things I need to do to have this thing is so much worth it, even though I have no guarantees, but this is, I'm compelled to do this thing. So I'm going to be compelled to make these changes. And so when I finally said it like out loud, well, I used to start by saying, like, I think I'm gay. It wasn't, a big triumphant parade, like loud hailer, like, let's do it. I said it in a very quiet voice. I think I'm gay, I'd say to people. And I don't know what that means, and I don't know what that looks like, but here's what I think. And, there was shame in that. There was grief. It was a fuck ton of terror, I need to tell you. And it was like every little brick that I'd built in my carefully constructed life was now crumbling under this weight. And I just couldn't carry it in silence. So they were falling away. And I was like, everything's falling. It's that, I guess when I describe it, it's that feeling of chaos. And it's like, I'm stepping now, what I'm standing on is crumbling away. So I'm stepping onto the next thing, but I don't even know. But the thing that kept me moving forward was this tiny flicker that I could feel within me that, you're not now on the wrong path. You're on the right path. You're not finished, but you have to keep moving. And it was just that little feeling of like, and when I latched onto that and could look forward to see that light in the future, like I felt lighter, and I was like, I have to keep moving in that direction. I went to the light in the good way. But, so people think that, so there's all that stuff going on, and then you eventually get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to make this change. I've got to make this change. I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to start. And I started incredibly small, like just a couple of people. And it took me literally 6 months of telling, people who were close to me to then eventually fully like come out to my husband and things like that. And again, I kind of set myself up that I had to do that at some point because I told so many people, I thought, fuck, it's going to get back to him secondhand. That's not what I want. I need to do this. And even the day I did it, I didn't plan it. It just happened. It probably works well. There's the amount of times I planned it and backed out. So, but I just done small steps. So, when people are in the midst of any life change, not just coming out, like you don't have to start with the all in, like let's bomb dive into the pool. Let's fucking go. That might work for some people, but for most of us, we need little steps that we build confidence. So, oh, that went well. Now I can do it again, do it again, do it again. And you gradually get the reps under the belt and can just build up on that, if that makes sense. And, when we talk about, or when I talk about, my journey coming out late, it wasn't just about being gay and loving who I love. It was me coming out as, this version of Lisa, the authentic version of Lisa. And it's coming out to learn to live without a script, and that I can write my own rules, and understanding that I can choose to do whatever I want. And rather than just blindly ticking the boxes because someone said this is what you should do, I started asking myself better questions and having someone, like Sharon, and I had coaches and a therapist that would also ask me these questions and have me reflect on it. Like, what does Lisa want? And that was really hard for me to answer at the start. And it still gets hard sometimes when I think about it, because I'd never given myself permission to truly think about what did I want rather than what I felt like I should ask for or I should be pursuing. Who feels safe, and learning to identify like the right people to have in my circle versus those that maybe needed to sit out further. I'm not going to say wrong people, but, and what does actual love feel like? I have no doubt in my life I have been loved, but, I haven't been in a position where I could fully receive it and understand it. I thought love was transactional. I do this, you'll love me. You do this, I'll love you. That's how it worked. Like, I've talked at length about, the environment, I guess, I grew up in, the complex relationship with my mother. So, I can't honestly say compared to now that what I felt then was genuine, actual, like real love. It was love the best way they knew how to do it. So I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that's just the best that they could do with what they knew. So, and making that decision and coming out into myself, like, let me tell you, there was a lot with that. It wasn't just one big happy, happy, joy, joy, big old pride parade for myself and suddenly life was great. That is not what happened. There was grief, immense grief for, you know, the person that I tried so hard to be and failed to be. Because I felt like that was a failure, that I hadn't been the person that everybody wanted me to be. And, grief for ending a marriage, like that's not a decision you take lightly. And, you know, grief for all the years that, I spent trying to make everybody else proud, but I never felt proud of me. But I thought if they were proud of me, then that was me being proud of me, which was completely fucking different. And there's nothing wrong with feeling that grief as well. Like that's perfectly normal. It's not that because I feel grief for ending a marriage that I regret doing it. Grief and regret are very different things. But it's still like anytime you close a chapter in your life, there is that feeling of loss. Regardless whether you've instigated it, someone else instigated it, it's still there. I had immense fucking guilt about, I felt so selfish. Like I'd wrecked everyone else's life just to, live mine. And who was I to do that? They didn't sign up for this. This is, they signed up for this. And now I'm going to be doing this. And I felt immense shame and guilt around that because, again, I'd never given myself permission to do things just for me. But alongside like the guilt and the shame and the grief and the sort of turmoil, there also came, probably for the first time in my life, a feeling of freedom that I could fucking breathe. And I didn't realize the weight that was sitting on my chest until like I didn't have it anymore, which is quite often, the case. Like this really strange, beautiful feeling of lightness that I'd never ever known, that I could get up and be okay. The ability to genuinely, wholeheartedly laugh and mean it. Like one of the wedding photos that I've shared in different places, like there's a photo, Sharon and I are at the altar, and I can't even remember what was said, but I'm throwing my head back and she's laughing and we're both laughing. And that really sums us up. But it's also, I don't think I'd ever had that in, my prior life. And, I could wear clothes and not feel like it was a costume, or I had to justify what I was wearing. If I want to wear jeans and a flanny shirt and boots every day, fucking have at it, kids. I didn't have to justify, whatever. Or when I did on occasion wear a dress to, like when I was doing a weight loss challenge thing and, every 12 weeks there was a finale and you get frocked up, I just felt like it was a costume. Like, yeah, I look great in some of those dresses, but I was never comfortable. Like it wasn't me. And like I could now exist in spaces where I no longer had to pretend. So I could just exhale and just let it all be, kind of thing. And I could just be me, in those circles I'd curated and created. And, through navigating that, like I said, the little steps, very slowly, I started to figure out who was safe and who I wanted in my circle and who needed to maybe sit a little bit further out, the people that I could trust with my truth. And not everybody made the cut. And that's okay. We don't have to bring everybody with us. And, I really have always resonated with that. People come into your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. The ones that are there for that lifetime are small. And maybe some who come for a reason wind up staying for a lifetime, and that's great. But sometimes people are only with you for a season, and it's okay to have grace for letting that go and let them go with grace and understand what the season was and why they had to come in, but also why they had to go. And sometimes we hang on to things, we hang on to things, we hang on to things. So the universe will make it like a balling nuclear bomb of fire to help that relationship exit. And you're like, fuck, why did it have to go like that? But because we're just hanging on, the universe will always put us where we are meant to be, I believe. And sometimes it's really horrible and hard and messy, but that's just to make sure you don't go back, because the universe knows that we're essentially dumb and we'll keep going back to something. Because the thought of not having that and the unknown is too fucking scary. So we want to stay back. So, you know, the people who made the cut, like, they held me, they celebrated me, they loved me in spite of who I am. Sorry, not in spite of who I am. Getting all my words jumbled up today. So they love me not in spite of who I am, but because of it. Because I was this open, vulnerable me that was being authentic. And that actually drew them closer to me. Like, those close relationships have got so much closer as I've gone through this process. And I guess for me, the biggest shift of all is that I have learned how to receive love, like, fully. I've spoken about Sharon's aunties, how, they have shown me the gift of unconditional familial love, like from family, that I've never had. And they love me probably, that's grown over time as they've got to know me. But initially, it's just because you make Sharon, who we love, totally happy, and that's enough for us. Like, there was no other condition that they accepted me on, apart from the fact that I made someone who was important to them happy and safe and secure in a way they'd never seen that with her before. So I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to be anyone. I just had to show up as me, and that was enough for them. And now, like, as our relationship has developed and, they know me more and we've spent more time together, like, it's been easier for me to receive that love and understand why, and be good with that, and to let that, to actually feel it. Like, when they hug me, like, you feel it in your soul. Like, these aunties, fuck, man, they give like some killer hugs. And there used to be a joke when I ran the gym with some of the members, like, that I just made it as an offhand comment one day, like, don't hug me. And that's because somebody was sweaty and gross. But it turned into a thing that Lisa doesn't like hugs. And I was like, oh, but I never knew really how to receive them anyway. But these aunties, like, it's not just a quick, hey, how are you hug? It's a hug, there's, and you can feel it. And I hope everybody can have that at some point in their life. And, I learned how to receive it from my friends in a better way, that it wasn't for the version of me that could hustle and grind to be liked and to be, this is what I did, but for the softer me, which I didn't even know existed, and to be honest and be free to be who I actually am. And I think that was a big shift for me, that I could have those conversations with people, not just the superficial stuff. And I also learned how to give love too, like, not as a transaction, but as an extension of me. Like, this is who I am, and understanding for me that love doesn't have to earn its keep. Now, the relationship I have with Sharon, I'm incredibly blessed because, I don't have to earn my keep. And she calls me out when I'm saying things or doing things that are like, me being a Labrador and needing to earn my keep kind of deal. Like, you don't have to, like, you can just exist and that's enough. Like, you need to do what you need to do for you right now. And everything else is going to be, fine. So she's amazing at calling me out on that, because those are still, ingrained behaviors and things that I've done for 50 and a quarter years of life. Like, it's hard to undo some of those thought patterns, but I have to be constantly aware and check in with it. And then having someone who will call you on it is fucking amazing. It's great. So I guess, like, I know there's a lot of people who listen to this and are still in that before stage, or thinking about it, or fucking don't even know where you're at, which is cool. And, if if you reflect on this and go, yeah, I'm just still smiling through my days and I'm hustling to try and earn my place, I just want you to understand that you are not broken. There is nothing fucking wrong with you. You're not too late, and you're not selfish for wanting something different. And I'm not just talking about coming out, I'm talking about any life change. Like, you are not selfish for wanting more out of your life. 180 gazillion %. And even if you feel like, well, I've built this entire life that looks super perfect and it's ticking the boxes, you are allowed to say, this is not me. This is not what I want. This doesn't make me happy. And, getting to your after might not be clean or quick or easy. And let me, spoiler alert, it never fucking is. Mine certainly wasn't either. And it's still going. Like, my after is still evolving and changing. But you can get there, and that's just like worth everything. Like, you can't put like the cost, if we're talking a business term, the cost versus benefit, the return on investment, huge. Like, to give your soul what it needs and to have that sense of freedom and be able to live the life that you want, like, shit, you just owe yourself that. That's the greatest gift that you can give yourself. And like, sometimes I reframe it for myself. Me being authentically me is the kindest thing I can do for the people around me, because that's what they deserve. So if I want to take it away from me being selfish, flipping it around and going, well, me showing up as my authentic self, that's the best gift that I could give them right now. Like, that's me being me. Like, that's the best thing I can do, the kindest thing I can do. And sometimes that means you have to do hard things. Like, when I, came out to my now ex-husband and I said, like, you deserve to be happy. And I can't do that for you. I can't be that person. So essentially, that was the kindest thing I could do for him, is let him be free to be happy and to thrive, because that's what he deserves too. So that's just a little insight, I guess, into part of the journey. And I'm probably going to dig into this over the next few episodes, because I've really liked the process of reflecting and thinking on this and seeing what I can add in my perspective. So thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for listening. If in this episode has, made you think about something or made you realize something, don't keep it to yourself. Like, reach out, message me, email, hit me up in the DMs, share your story, because I love to hear them. And I really think we need to talk more openly about like this before and after, and help people who are still at the beginning maybe see some hope that there can be. It's not even the end, it's just an after ring, if it makes sense. So, or just let this like sit in your heart and understand that you're allowed to be you, whatever that looks like, however you need to be. So please go be awesome. I'm here in my metaphorical big gay overalls, tracksuit pants, getting cold now. But I am feeling grateful. I'm feeling whole, and I feel like I'm finally home. And I want you to feel that too. So, please reach out. Part of my work is around helping people transition in life change. Doesn't have to be coming out, but particularly women, we're hitting this age in our 40s and 50s. We're like, fuck, this is not the life that I envisage. This is not what I want to do for the next 30, 40 years. Please reach out. I do spend time coaching clients through that change and through my Authenticity Blueprint program. Also, if you haven't yet, please grab a copy of my book, Burn the Script, which is available on Amazon. Or if you reach out to me directly, I can organize you a signed paperback copy, can ship those globally. So let me know. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you hanging in while there's been a break in episodes, but we're back on the train, kids. We're going to keep rolling. But yeah, if there's anything else, just reach out. Like, I'm always here to chat. I love chatting to people about their story, and that's particularly what I'm really enjoying in the Authenticity in Action podcast, is hearing perspectives and stories, and that's my jam. All right, until the next one, which I promise will be next week, keep being you and just take those little steps. You're worth it. As hard as it is, you're worth it.